Acton Planning Board, and today is September 20th. So, first order of business, take a minute to read the minutes, and then I'll take a motion on them.
It's not, so that's why, your choices, that's why it came down, I thought maybe something's going on, I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I'll take care of it, thank you.
No, this is.
Excuse me.
Riveting, tell us.
What was that?
Nothing.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. What did you say?
Rats on.
Really?
This is a whole file, so you won't lose your
I have to
spot.
make a motion to
or
accept
something.
minutes.
Second.
Any changes or corrections? Bob?
I'm not sure if it's a correction, but we go into the section about Line Pro. And are we supposed to get that information? They're looking for the fire marshal's report, site plan before the next meeting? Or is that something that,
I called, just so you know, before the meeting, I called last week about the fire marshal's report, and he was gonna check with Mr. Crowley. And the septic design I have, the third thing, what was the third thing?
Second.
site plan?
The site plan, I just discussed with him, he thought that the site plan he turned in was sufficient. I told him I'd find out more of what exactly he wanted, or you guys wanted, and Ken wanted, and there were, he thought he was just gonna have all this stuff for the fourth, for the hearing.
Yeah, we hadn't really stipulated that we would get it ahead of time.
Right,
It was just, these are things that we also wanted that we didn't have yet. And I think we want, a real site plan, like
Okay.
his plot of land, where his store is on it, where the parking is, where the drives are.
okay,
He's already given us one or two in the past,
Okay.
from other,
so
stuff he's
there,
done there.
yeah, then there's probably,
But,
there's probably
things have
one,
changed a little bit as far as, especially as parking and whatnot, so,
right,
you know.
so that's really from Mr. Crowley, not from,
Right.
okay, I will.
And see, that's,
Well, that's a funny part about the thing.
yes, that's the other part of it, which we'll have to get into later, but, so anyway, we hadn't really specified that we would get it ahead of time. These are things that we want to look at, all right? Anybody else, anything else?
I thought we had suggested that we would like them to be present at the meeting.
That's correct.
Yes.
And
Those I,
Ken said
Oh,
he
well,
wished you
yeah.
didn't say that,
At least.
because he should have it before then.
If the fire marshal's report is done in
Okay.
time, those guys, they're so busy. Anything else?
Should who seconded that, please?
Tom.
Tom Casher.
Thank you.
Should we make a, oh, we're gonna take a vote on that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Any other changes or corrections? All's in favor, aye?
Right?
All's opposed, nay? All right, that's done, they're passed. Tom, what was your question?
Should we indicate to Mr. Crowley or Mr. Stanley that the public hearing couldn't be scheduled until at least we were able to review those items on October 4th at the very latest?
We've already scheduled the hearing.
Right.
It's already,
But in the absence of those materials, we're not supposed to be all in the hearing. It's not fair to the public, that's all. No more.
Could we have it and then just not vote on it?
We certainly don't have to vote on on the same night. Because if there,
Right.
see, because there can always be something that can come up during the public hearing that we're not aware of that would cause us to collect more information or to need, further deliberation or whatnot. So, it's only been because the last few have been relatively simple, that we've had a public hearing, we've had all the information we've needed, we've gone ahead and decided, made a decision. It doesn't have to be that way, and it isn't necessarily always that way. I don't want to cancel the meeting if we don't have this information. It's just, it's just going to take that much longer for us to make a decision. But whatever we can, the site plan we ought to be able to have. And if he has the fire marshal's report, we ought to bring that in. But if he doesn't have that, there's nothing we can do about that, and we'd have to wait
Yeah.
to make a decision until we saw that, or saw what it entailed anyway. And there's gonna be issues about the parking. My guess is, if any of the public shows up, there may be a few things that we're not aware of yet that may come out. And, like Gavin was saying, the whole situation is a little different because this guy is just, renting a space,
Right.
and he's looking for the permit when historically it's been the owner of the building, the maintainer of the building. So that is something else we're gonna probably wanna hash out too, I would think.
But we did that dental clinic, actually, it was basically the woman who wanted to start it, who came before us. Granted, Bob was here, but they were kind of secondary.
Yeah. But he was here and he did present what information he, needed to be done. So I don't know, we'll see what happens.
And Crowley has multiple renters.
Well, I think,
Not really.
no, I think he's got multiple businesses there.
Yeah.
And that, but I think he oversees all of it. This is the
Right.
one,
Only
Separate
right
one.
right now.
yeah, so.
Okay.
These are all things, and this is why it would have been, if he had been here at the last meeting to kind of explain some of this to us, it might have been a shade easier. But it'll come out on the 4th. All right? All right? All set with that? So, stormwater ordinance draft. Did y'all get a chance to go through the changes that JT had put in here?
He just came today.
No, actually, they came last week. But I didn't, I was here out the day it came, and I didn't realize it till yesterday, and that's why I got sent to you yesterday.
It's not too many things, is it? We just kind of go through it. First one was the disturbance of land, add definition, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a new thing?
Yes, that starts with.
It says,
Yeah, it was right, you're right.
No, we had that.
Oh, that's,
No, that was there.
yeah, that was there. I think,
I think the first one's on page 5. When I looked at it in the computer, we changed the color.
says the parking areas.
yeah, at least that's the first change I see. All parking and vehicles shall be included in the 20% impervious surface limitations of section 435. The green building council. All right. Anyone have any questions with that? I mean, it only makes sense that it would be in the, as part of the impervious surface. Unless it's constructed with a Green Building Council, LEED trademark, forest pavement system, such as GeoBlock. GeoBlock, Tom, what's that?
It's a block managed,
I wonder if it's like some kind of, I don't know. I wonder if it's like cinder blocks somewhat that are laid in the ground and
The holes up.
was, yeah, so that the water drains through. And I don't recall this ever coming up. How exactly did he arrive at this? Anybody know?
Well, I have a note, I don't know if anybody else does, and Jeff isn't here. Parking areas, one or more parking spaces to be added to the definition. So,
Did we get that?
maybe that's where you put it on the top 5. I wrote it on your definition, so.
Oh, yeah?
We needed a definition for parking area?
For parking areas.
Area.
Yeah,
Areas in which parking is.
occurs.
I remember he was talking about our definition for road surface, but I don't know. I don't remember. But hey, what the heck? Sounds good to me. Anyone have any issues with it?
It's still not really a definition of a parking area.
Well, we're gonna need that as well, right?
Yeah. And are we looking for dimensions too? Or do we just want to stick, well, I know we must address it in the zoning book somewhere. Or in the subdivision book. Okay, we don't, well, parking space. That's just a minimum 200 square foot area.
I have another note for the parking thing.
You do?
About 20% impervious surfaces. And he does include that in that.
Well, I thought that was the question that
Right.
somebody had thought, or we had thought that parking areas should be included in the impervious, the 20% cover. You can't cover more than 20% because, if you make it out of blacktop or something, boom. If you make it out of hard packed gravel or hard packed something, the water still may run off, not drain through. So,
That's what it says in the minutes, it says, under parking areas in the shoreline district, also add the requirement that newly constructed or newly established parking lots comply with stormwater runoff, so we just wanna, I guess it wasn't clear enough to us that those areas were gonna be, just make it clearer to the public.
That they're
Bob said
included.
something about that, didn't you mention something to him about that?
Well, the part that I had mentioned is, in my mind, is cleared up on page 5. I just wanted it to, make the point that we want to make sure that it was included, that people understood that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what he did.
right, okay, yeah, he did. And you get around it if you design them with this
It's a
geo
lost rock or something.
Ooh, yeah, man, there's hunks of pumice.
Not even a smart,
Where's the next one?
He's
No, more time.
He's busy.
He's got a TV show.
All right,
So we still didn't get a definition of parking area, which is out of this.
yeah, you're right. The only thing we have is parking space in the zoning book. We don't address it that I can see as far as the definition in the subdivision book. So, well,
Or we could put in just parentheses after space, parking area, parentheses, parking space, parentheses, area. So, it says
Well,
more than
park-
one space is also included in this.
yeah, but the parking space definition specifically says a 200 square foot, a minimum area of 200 square feet exclusive of drives, aisles, or entrances fully accessible for the storage or parking of vehicles. A minimum area of 200 square feet.
That's interesting, because just 100 square feet is gonna trigger our
Right.
implementation here.
course, we are talking about private residences, and you might not necessarily set aside 200 square feet for parking, you know?
No, I wouldn't think so.
You just have.
10 by 20, you just have 10 by 10 or something.
Yeah.
Okay, God, he was right.
Like your car, huh, little Honda,
We got a parking lot 10 by 10 in. Yeah, we don't have to knock ourselves out with this. A parking area is an area upon which parking takes place.
Right. Well, it is. I mean, if something can be self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't need a definition in our code.
Well, yeah, anytime we don't have one in the book, you go by what the standard definition would be, so.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
So the next change is where, Bob?
On page 6 of the corrected one, but it's on page 5 of the last one we're
Current,
looking
all
at.
right.
Mhm.
Where's the,
There's 2 changes there.
Is that the, Lidigum?
Yeah, that would be where we are.
Ready to maintain.
You're kidding, we didn't include that before?
sounds good.
Well, that's the whole point. You know, why would we do this if we weren't gonna, you know, beat somebody over the head if they don't, maintain it?
Mhm.
This is,
All right, so
Four.
we're happy with that?
Mhm.
All right. Next one?
Right below B.
All right.
You mean located within shoreline?
Yeah.
That one? Yeah, right. I was kind of including that because it was so close.
I have a note, excuse me,
Go ahead.
engineered design. What were we talking about that? Do you recall? I have it under B.
Right.
So I have a note that says hire an engineer for sure.
We had asked him, is this something a homeowner can do, or are they gonna need somebody professional? He said, we're gonna have to have somebody engineered, you know, someone real is gonna have to do this. Unless the homeowner happens to be, you know, a water engineer, or whatever the devil you'd have to be for this. So that was just, we're looking for a clarification from him, not necessarily something in writing. I don't see anything else, do I? Or did I miss something?
Just a question. The heading below that citation B on page 6 in the new work, revision, I assume that wasn't meant to be crossed out there, the main DEP per acre
I
phosphorus?
think you just, I don't think that should
Yeah,
be
because
crossed out.
phosphorus is on top as well.
Yeah.
Right, it just,
Just from transferring the email,
Right.
sometimes.
To make it
stuff
one
happens.
page, you know.
So we want to retain that, so.
Yep,
Yes,
I'll fix
yes.
that.
I don't think there's any change, any others.
now, did you get a chance to read this thing about performance bonds and enforcement of anybody? This we got emailed, right?
Is it a reading?
Yes,
Yes.
and you got this training, you know,
That, for some reason, that didn't work for me.
I'm sorry,
No, it's not your fault, it's my, you know,
your skills.
1988 stuff.
Oh, I thought it was your skills.
Well, that's real nice.
I gotta give it to you before I leave, don't I?
No, you don't. Now, I don't know, setting up the performance bond shouldn't be a problem. This is stuff that we've dealt with subdivisions. But as far as the after the fact, you know, what are we gonna require people that set money aside to maintain this? You know, how often are we gonna have it inspected? Or that might be something that different plans may require different, you know, maintenance. Some may require yearly, others may, you know, set it, forget it, you know?
Like whoever installs it will tell the owner how
Right.
often it needs to be maintained. They should tell the town too, I guess.
Well, we get a copy of the plan?
You should.
I thought Kenny had a good concept.
Yeah, I
on this.
liked Kenny's idea too.
That we ought to listen to his thinking on this, I think. This is I didn't have a chance to review JT's thing, but it looks quite over and above what we would want to subject an individual landowner to.
What was Ken saying?
He was going to devise, or he had a notion that you could devise a way that in the computer file, it would come up on a
Tickler.
2-year basis or whatever.
Right.
Whereby the owner at said time would submit to Kenny documentation consisting of what I don't know, that the system has been cleaned up and is still operating as designed. It may or may not, I was unclear whether it would warrant a field trip by Ken or how he proposes to check on these things, but the initial concept seemed to make sense and was kind of putting the ball back in the landowner's court of, you know, and I think he had a stipulation of, you know, if they didn't contact Kenny in a timely basis within the calendar as designated, that he would trigger the site business. And they would be warned ahead of time that if they weren't helpful, it might trigger some kind of a fine or something. But he could certainly flesh that out. I think we asked him to please do some thinking on that and help us with that at our next meeting.
All right. Anything else?
I don't know what anybody else recall from that.
No, that's, yeah, that pretty much sounds like what he was saying.
I have a few notes on that. About the performance guarantees, it needs to be updated in the zoning, of course. The tickler follow-up, which Tom just mentioned, and it needs to be recorded with the registry of deeds. And he talked about fees.
He said he didn't think these were a good idea.
Right.
Like in New Durham ordinance,
Right.
they had $10 or $25 depending on the BMP it was, and then that they paid when it was installed, that would pay for the town to come and look at it. Kenny didn't like that idea though.
But he had some kind of a carrot, and I forget what it was, that was something along the lines of if you weren't playing ball with the CEO's office, it would cost you something.
Well, there was the occupancy permit too, but that's not gonna cover a lot of cases.
You mentioned having the town do it and then send them the bills for, you know, not for-
Yeah.
As far as the maintenance, if they didn't do it, yeah.
Right.
The road commissioner or something.
Yeah, again, it would depend on, you know,
The
each
task too.
thing is gonna be different, what it would entail.
Well, let's just wait on his input.
Right. So this whole performance bond thing, this was to redo our whole thing about performance bonds, or just,
Just said at the top, I did some research on performance guarantees for stormwater management. Yeah. He just more information about it for us.
all right.
Says he's, the only required for 2 years after installation.
Well,
That's his comment,
yeah,
JT's comment.
that was about one or two of these towns, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something else we're gonna want to look at with Ken, I guess.
And he gave us all these examples of cities that have them.
Did anyone go to those cities and see what exactly their thing entailed? I know I didn't. Gavin
I'd be
did.
happy to take a field trip.
What was it?
JT was saying our town was so small compared to most places that do these sort of barns.
Yeah. Well, that's because we're up and coming. So what else?
The next step on this would be, I'm just talking out loud, the next step on this would be trying to incorporate it into the zoning ordinance. Are we at that point? Because,
Well, we'd want to have
or
I mean, it's,
shall we still continue to work on this document? Or are we getting closer?
well, he's pretty much got it
That's what I'm thinking.
folded in.
Tom,
Well, yeah, we'll have one more meeting probably with everyone here.
Before I
To
start-
discuss it.
Right.
before I
Again.
incorporate it
Well,
into.
no, then we have to have a public hearing on it, because these are zoning.
No, I know, it would be a draft, I wouldn't change it, it would be, but we're not done with this document, if that's what I'm
No,
asking.
no. No, we want a little more of Ken's input on, performance bond, make sure that this is kind of what we want it to be, and then have a public hearing, and see what kind of feedback we get from that.
Okay.
Are you talking about a public hearing prior to what Linda would be putting it together, or after she would be putting it together, so that she could at least start putting some of this stuff into the zoning?
No, she can't do that until it gets voted on.
Well, no,
But
as a
you-
draft,
But she could do it like.
Because that's how-
An example of how it would be.
that's how they're gonna see it,
That's
right?
pretty much what this is. This, the one that JT gave us, I mean, he's got the specific areas where he's thrown these changes in.
So that's what you would use for public hearing,
Oh,
and not
yeah,
the
yeah,
whole zoning thing?
Right.
I know you don't like how many pages.
Well, yeah, no, this is all they need
Okay,
to see.
that's what I'm asking.
Okay. Mhm.
Right.
Thank
I
you.
mean, we don't want to overload them with a ton of stuff.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And make, so much work for you guys, it's, yeah. Because something may come out of the public hearing that, we haven't
Now we have to
thought
make
about, or
changes.
that we may want
Yeah.
to change, or we may want to add more stuff.
Okay.
So, no, this is a great document right here. Once we get it finalized and we're all happy with it. So,
I guess in my mind, what comes across to me though is by setting it up this way, it's still gonna look to the average person coming to a public hearing that it's another document.
now when I explain to him, it won't. No, it'll be fine,
Okay.
because it won't be anybody that shows up anyway, so. No, it'll be fine.
You sound like a presidential candidate anymore.
Does anyone else have any issues with this tonight that we want to go over? Anything that hasn't been addressed, or you still have a question with or about? Or you just like making neat piles? Speaking of neat piles, how are you?
I'm all set. I need to spend more time with this, to kind of see how.
Yes, I
It
hear you.
melds with, Forest and that whole non-incident or incidental, I'm not quite sure what happened.
Well, it did,
That was the confusion for me.
it did seem to
Disappear.
certainly be less confusing, and
Yeah, it got a-
I'm sure it's addressed in here.
It's got a haircut.
Yeah. A buzz cut.
Now, listen, Okay.
Um,
No, said?
Yes, I guess. So, between now and, well, October 4th is gonna be a public hearing for, Avocor, whatever the, Line Pro.
Lion Pro.
Is it gonna be upstairs or downstairs, do you think?
Yeah, it depends on the crowd.
Yeah.
I'm shooting for downstairs myself.
So we'll have a meeting afterwards too. also.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
definitely, because we'll have to see what happens. But, yes, we'll have a meeting afterwards,
Yeah.
and so between now and then, get a chance to run, if you can, get a chance to run through this again, and any last minute stuff, because after we deal with this one more time with Ken, we ought to be pretty close to at least having a first public hearing, and see how things go from there. Because, what?
Oh, I'll offer a little show and tell at the next meeting.
Oh, about this?
Oh, about geologs.
Oh, hey, good.
I bring in a pitcher of water and a cinder block. Put it on the flat first, and pour it on.
That's the impervious.
If you like me to, I won't. Cruise.
I just wish that I had trademarked that name, that's all. Shoot. So, if you can't get a chance to, flesh it out at home. And, anything else for tonight?
I just have one wish that a long ago correspondence that we got from Linda Schreier, dated April 12th, 2012, where she gave us a kind of a work plan of what they were going to be doing this summer and the ensuing summers, I guess. It had a lot of meat and potatoes in it, one of which I'm still puzzling over. And it involves an impression that we have regarding roads versus residential sites. And I thought she had spelled it out more clearly, but she hasn't in here. And I'm going to track it down with a question to her. Because we have an impression that the roads seem to be the biggest problem in our lake watersheds. And there's some information in her document that might indicate others. So I just want to get that clear with her, and just suggest maybe that we take that information that she shared with us into consideration.
In the stormwater?
Yeah. It's the best nuts and bolts that we have in terms of watershed science, that's been developed by her group.
Yeah. Well, if Linda could scare that up again, because I don't know where.
Did you print this out for everyone?
I know,
For everyone?
that doesn't mean I got it.
It's 5 minutes ago when the paper
Yeah,
started.
second paragraph of comment.
The Linda Shire thing?
Yes.
The thing top
Just a
story?
one-page thing was with our minutes.
But the original document was
It's much bigger than that.
Yeah.
But the second paragraph kind
this is
of
short.
points to what you were
Well,
saying.
see, look how small the printing is, no wonder I can't read it.
But the confusion arises on page 2, where she says the watershed surveys identified 177 non-point source sites on Grid East and 72 on Wilson. And then she goes on to say residential sites accounted for 62 and 65% respectively, and private and town roads 17 and 8%. But she doesn't tell us how that correlates to the phosphate loading that is, would be relating to those sites. So it would be an interesting notion for us to get our arms around which is the more problematic of these. And I have no idea which is which.
And those percentages are referring to
Just numbers.
just general sediment loading too, because they're saying that sediment loading estimates performed during fall '09 indicate that road sites accounted for 27.4 tons. So it's all based off of how many tons of sediment went in.
Yeah.
So 62 and 65% of it came from residential sites, and 17 and 18% respectively came from the roads. Yeah.
Well, I thought-
Did you check it?
I thought her numbers talked about the number of non-point source sites.
Maybe,
You know, there's 72, on Great East, there's 72
Right,
residences
sites, yeah.
that have some, non-point source pollution, whatever the hell it's called,
mhm.
going into the lake. Whereas, there's only a few points that are coming, or a few sites that are coming from the roads.
Oh, I see.
There's a lot more homes than roads, though.
Right,
And the roads, even though there's a handful of them, just a few of them, they may cause more runoff than the homes do. See, that's what I'm not sure about.
Right, no, that makes more sense than the sediment, yeah.
well, would you want Lenny to call her on that, or how do you want to?
We might want some clarification,
Yeah, I think it would,
right? That's the whole thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for.
it would just put in context a little better, more concretely, the rationale for what we're doing. It would help us at a public hearing, I think.
Yes, if anyone ever sees this document. You got that? We're looking for some clarification.
Okay.
All right.
And maybe, I haven't waded through that whole thing yet, and maybe it rises to the surface if you really dig into that bit of an email. It didn't bounce, it didn't come out to me as clear.
You mean Linda's thing?
Linda Shires.
Yes, yes. All right. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Anybody else? Anything? Linda, anything?
No, sir.
Public hearing next time, and we'll discuss more of this stuff.
Yep, and I'll contact Mr. Crowley on a plan.
Right, we need some kind of a site plan. The most up-to-date one, because they are addressing parking differently. I don't think that's in anything that we've had yet. And, yeah, if he's got the fire marshal's report back in. And we'd like to see both those guys at the hearing, because there'll probably be questions for both of them. And it would just help their cause. All right?
All right.
That's it then. Good night, Cable Land.